Hi, and welcome to It's Not That Bad, optimistic movie reviews for optimistic people.
See, it's
Thank
like you haven't skipped a beat. It's just always
Thank you.
perfect. Oh, it makes me so happy.
I mean...
It's why you started it. I mean, it's why it's your baby, and it's why I'm always in awe. It always just makes me happy. I do love, even, like, what is this, episode 11, episode 12?
Yeah.
We're like, still a good half a minute to a full minute is just praise that the person did the intro.
Yeah. Like, it's the bare minimum of our podcast, and we're just like, snaps to you!
But that's what this podcast is all about in its heart. We celebrate mediocrity. We would be the most supportive mums in all of existence.
We'd have the most spoiled children.
Oh man, I don't. That's why I'm scared to have children. Because, like, why do you need a fifth iPhone?
My big fear is, like, I'm scared that my child's gonna be super creepy. like a horror movie child, you know? Like, I'm just gonna wake up in the middle of the night, it's like, Mommy, can I have some water? And I'll be like, oh my god!
Get out of here, you weirdo.
So scared I'm gonna accidentally punch my child in the face.
To be fair, my mum has done that to me, so you'll be okay.
What?
Yeah, we went to... This is not a story of abuse. Like, also, hi everyone, welcome to It's Not That Bad. We're here to tell you about some not that good movies, and we're just gonna say it's not that bad.
Not that bad either.
But before we do this, let's talk about my mum punching me in the face.
Yeah.
So this isn't a story of abuse, so don't fret if you are about to get a little bit worried. But we went to go see Will Smith in I Am Legend. And it scared my mum senseless. And so I decided that night that I would play a trick on her. And I heard that she went into the bathroom. So I stood outside the bathroom and waited till she came out. And I just scared the crap out of her. I just gave her a good old roar. And she went, ooh, and punched me in the face. This is a woman who's about 5'4". And just the nicest lady you could ever meet. And she punched me in the face.
Didn't she do taekwondo for like
Yeah.
ages though with you? So
yeah, she's a first dan black belt. So yeah, I didn't think that much through. I didn't think that there would be consequences for my actions.
I mean, that's how you learn.
That's how we grow as people. I've never scared her since.
Can I tell you, I actually accidentally punch someone in the face this week.
Yes.
At Krav. Yeah.
Please,
we were
tell
doing
me.
a move and my hand flew awry into his face, into his eye. And he's very sweet, so he's like, no, it's fine. He like shrugged it off and kept going, and it would have been fine if another girl we were paired with didn't also punch him in the exact same eye, doing the exact same thing 5 minutes later.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's not looking good.
This poor guy, does he have a black eye now? Have you seen him since?
Yeah, he's been sending me photo updates. And he's being really nice about it. I feel awful, but I laugh every time he sends me a photo of how bad his eye looks.
Oh my goodness. Look, it's not your fault.
Yeah. But this is the first time I've ever truly punched someone in the face.
That's good though. Like, I mean, it's taken 24 years.
That's true.
Simone.
That's true. Almost 25.
Yes, I was about to say, do you realise by the time this episode comes out, both of us essentially will be 25?
Yes!
Because this is supposed to come out in October sometime, and both of our birthdays are in September.
Oh my gosh! Yeah!
That's crazy.
What do you have planned for your birthday?
Nothing
this
yet.
year?
I'll be up in Yorkshire, so I'll be with Sophie's family, and then my parents are coming up too.
Okay.
So it'll be nice because this is also the first time that they're meeting. The parents are meeting, so it'll be good. It'll be interesting. And that's all I'm planning. What are you planning for your birthday?
I told Rudy that because sometimes I like planning a big party and like seeing everybody and stuff. And I said this year, I love all the people in my life. I love all my friends. I love seeing them. But I don't feel like planning anything.
Yeah.
Or stressing at all the whole day, or worrying about feeding people or whatever. So I was like, I just want to do whatever. Maybe go out. There's a mac and cheese place I like. Go out for mac and cheese. Walk next to the ocean. Watch a movie. Then I'd be happy. Maybe day drink a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my dream. That's my vision. That's my goal. Just modest, ease into my next quarter of a century.
I think that's fair. I feel like as you get older, and I mean, maybe we're just being a bit too premature about this, but, you know, birthdays don't really matter. I mean, it's a quarter of a century, so it's kind of a big deal, but also, you know, at this stage where we can drink openly at any stage and our lives are such a shambles that we could party during any day of the week and it not really matter, like, what's different about a birthday, essentially?
Yeah, and I had a big one last year and it was really nice. Like, you know, I had all these amazing people around me and I was really happy, and I still have all these amazing people around me. I just, like, don't want to worry. Because, you know, like, when I cater for something or when I organize something,
you're stressed.
like, I'm fucking on it. It's always amazing.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, the whole build-up, I'm just, like, a ball of anxiety.
Yeah, and that's not what you need for your birthday.
No. I don't want to spend, like, love my friends, love catering. Don't feel like spending a bunch of money on my birthday feeding people.
No, not at all. I mean, it's rubbish, and that's not fair. They should be spending money on you, and not the other way around.
Well, usually, I mean, I ask everybody to bring something, and then I just made, like, a real boozy punch.
Which is how... I mean, now you can just make a boozy punch for yourself, so...
For just me.
Just me. That'll be good.
Yeah.
Nice chilled 25, and, you know, start another quarter century, and hopefully this one will be better.
Yeah. Maybe 26 will be a banger. Look, the first 25 have not been bad.
No, we've had a pretty... Let's be honest.
We both have had very blessed childhoods.
Yeah, we have not really suffered much hardship. So, yeah.
I don't want to make it sound like we've both just been struggling to get to where we are. Like, we've worked very hard, but...
We've worked hard, but we've been given certain privileges and things.
Yeah. It's been a gentle uphill walk, not so much like an uphill battle.
Exactly. So, you know, it's fine. You know, you don't need to celebrate it. I mean, if we had done something insane, then maybe, you know, like if it was a genuine struggle to get to 25 and we're actually fucking amazed that we got here. Yeah. Like, I'm surprised with the amount of stupid shit that we've done in our lives. I'm genuinely surprised that we've gotten to this stage.
Yes.
But to be congratulatory about it is a very different story.
Yes. Enough about us.
But enough about us. How about you, listener? Good.
I'm so glad for you.
Yeah, this is our new segment where we are just silent while you tell no one that...
But we'll say encouraging things.
Yeah, so here's 5 seconds of silence where you can say whatever you want. No, she didn't. How dare she?
You're so funny, listener.
Well, thank you for sharing your lives with us. We really appreciate it. And so let's... I thought it was a nice moment. I hope someone in their car or whatever you guys were doing were just like, well, actually, and they went into your lives a bit. That would be nice.
Yeah. Send us a recording.
Yeah, and I mean, if it did work out and what we said in response actually kind of fit well for you, do tell us, because that would be amazing.
That would be so fun.
So, yeah, as we said, this is the podcast where we do fun things about movies that are terrible. And this week is no different. This week, what are we doing, Simone?
So I will be doing the ripping horror movie.
Ripping.
I don't know why ripping was the adjective I told, but I'm just going to stick with it.
Oh, that's an amazing adjective.
I don't want to call it a horror, but it's a movie. It's
definitely
it's
shocking.
Called Red Riding Hood. And what movie will you be covering, Chad?
This week I will be getting down and dirty with the world famous Jim Gillespie's Venom from 2005, a film critically acclaimed by all.
By absolutely no one. It was not a blip on anyone's radar.
I would challenge anyone to go out there and speak about this film openly and expect someone to be like, oh yeah, I've seen that. Like, I'm pretty sure that you and me, our entire listenership of like 15 people, and Jim Gillespie and his family are the only ones who have seen this film.
Even the actors have not seen the final cut.
No, they were just like, look, we were in it. We kind of get the gist.
It's fine.
Yeah, we don't need to know more about this.
So Chad, what are you drinking?
I have moved back onto the Malibu from a couple of weeks ago. I still haven't finished it. So I've only got a thimble left, I think, or so. But I've also...
It looks like a reasonable amount in there.
Yeah, there's like that much of the bottle as far as I can see. For our audio listeners, about 3/4 of the bottle left. But I have run out of Pepsi, so I will be drinking straight Malibu in a second, which I'm not excited about.
Oh.
But yeah, so Malibu, 21%. What are you drinking, Simone?
You do win. I've got a nice dry white, much like myself.
I was waiting for it. It was great.
It's 12% volume.
Fair
So
enough.
you definitely win.
Is this still your bargain sale?
No, this is not my charity wine. I paid for it myself. It is a bottom shelf wine, though.
Good. I would expect
Yes.
nothing more. I mean, seriously, who has the expenses?
Yeah.
That would be insane. Okay, so I win. So Venom it is.
Let's do it.
Good luck, everyone. Let's dive straight into this with a plot summary. Okay, so
With
Venom.
open hearts and open minds.
Yeah, I mean, let's just start first by saying that vapid is a word to describe this film. The fact that there was maybe 4 pieces of trivia on it kind of shows the level of white bread, matzah, sort of dead space that this film is. But yeah, let's crack on, shall we? Right. In 1803, Thomas Jefferson purchased what was then known as the Louisiana Territories from the first consul of the French Republic, Napoleon Bonaparte. In exchange for 50 million francs, that's $11,250,000, and a cancellation of debts worth 18 million francs, $3,750,000, for a total of 68 million francs, 15 million equivalent to $573 billion in 2016. The United States became the owner of land that forms Arkansas, Missouri, Iowa, Oklahoma, Kansas, and Nebraska, a portion of Minnesota West, and the Mississippi River, large portions of North Dakota, large portions of South Dakota, the eastern section of New Mexico, the northern portions of Texas, the area of Montana, Wyoming, and Colorado East, and of the Continental Divide, Louisiana West, of the Mississippi River, plus New Orleans, and small portions of land within the present Canadian provinces of Alberta and Saskatchewan. Now, of course, none of this has anything to do with the film. It's just really interesting, and I wanted to give a bit of history on Louisiana, because that is where Venom is set. So that was known as the Louisiana Purchase. So that's probably the most interesting thing about this movie, and it has absolutely nothing to do with the movie. So 202 years later, when Miss Emmy, who is a traditionalist voodoo witch, finds out that the government is about to build a hotel...
Is witch the right word?
I wasn't happy about it.
To say witch?
I wasn't happy about it. And please, if you do know sort of the proper vernacular for that, please write into us. It's very much appreciated. I'm just going on what both IMDb and Wikipedia said. They use a lot stronger language. They use words like fictitious and things like that, which I wasn't too happy about. But yeah, traditional voodoo, also voodoo, I'm not too sure if that's the right term. Sorceress?
I'm sure that there's like a non-European term that we should be using, but
Yeah.
we stand to be corrected.
Yeah, we're inviting correction, so yeah.
Please.
So, when Miss Emmy, the voodoo witch, for lack of a better term, finds out that the government is about to build a hotel over the swamp, over some swampland, she goes to the land in order to unearth a suitcase which contains the souls of countless evil people who, while alive, murdered, raped, and committed other savage acts. Mrs. Emmy is responsible for the suitcase because she performed the milking ceremony upon the evil souls so that they could rest in peace. It would seem that said milking ceremony involved rattlesnakes biting the dead bodies and trapping the souls within themselves. So, Miss Emmy is driving back with the suitcase when she is involved in a car crash, which leads to her death. Unfortunately, the man trying to help her, Ray, played by Rick Kramer, opens the suitcase and is bitten by the rattlesnakes and infected with the souls of all those evil people. His sole goal is to kill everyone, it would seem, and sacrifice their souls to the Dark Lord. Our protagonists are a ragtag group of angsty teens who, for no purpose, don't even deserve to be named. I'm not even going to go into their fucking names because they're so non-eventful in this film. They have been tasked with the job of trying to stop Ray from his goals. To be fair, they were the reason that Ray died in the first place, so they kind of deserve to have that happen to them. Shenanigans happen, nothing really worth noting, except pretty much all of the teens die, except for Eden, played by Agnes Buckner, who kills Ray by driving into him with his own truck and basically making him explode. The movie ends with a potential wink at a sequel, with the snakes writhing out of Ray's body, very much still alive, and yeah, that's about it. Yeah. I mean, it happened, you watched it, we were all there. The Louisiana Purchase kind of made this happen. 200 years in the making.
I feel like also maybe colonial powers bring over Haitian slaves.
Yeah, that too. Because that's one thing that kind of annoyed me about the film is the amount of white people in it who were just like, fuck Haitian religions. You know, you guys are ridiculous, and this is all stupid
this is so
and
dumb. Unless it works.
Which clearly it does, because Ray is now evil and wants to kill everyone. Ray is also the best character in this film.
I was about to say the exact same thing. He's so nice. Everybody's like, oh, he's so creepy. But, like, all he does, like, when he's alive, is show up at a diner, get his food, eat in his truck. He's nice to everybody. He drives past this couple arguing, makes sure that the girl is okay, and the guy's not giving her shit. The guy's like, she's fine, even though he's kind of being a dick. And then, like, he tries to help this old lady. He does help her. And then he wants to get her suitcase for her because it's very important to her. And he dies.
Yeah, it's really not fair. Like, he isn't creepy at all. I mean, he's just mean. Like, there's nothing wrong with him. Like, yeah, there's so much hate towards him in the first 5 minutes for no reason.
Yeah, it's very confusing.
Yeah, and I mean, the teens are the dicks in this film.
Oh my god, especially, like, I don't understand how you can be mean about a guy who's, like, just trying to make a living and is maybe a bit, like, gruff with people when, like, you're friends with two girls who literally their main identity is going to the mall and shoplifting?
Yeah, for reals. I think her name is Dee Dee. It's either Dee Dee or Kiki or fucking something, and she's just the worst character. Her voice is so shrill.
She sounds like a child.
Oh, it was upsetting.
And you're like, you should not be giving her alcohol, because she sounds
12.
like 12 years old.
And when she dies, her death scene, when she's just in the garage, and she's just like, hello! And you're just like, just die already.
Like, yeah, it's, I mean, but we know that, like, for slasher movies, you kind of do have to make characters, especially, like, the first ones to be killed off, that, like, no one really cares about. So, I understand that that's what the character was a vehicle for. It's just... Guys, it's such lazy writing.
The one redeeming factor, and the one thing that I really, really liked about the film, apart from Ray, who is actually a pretty cool character.
Which one is Ray?
Ray's the good guy. The guy that we like.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I'm back.
The one redeeming factor was there's that scene where he literally rips, like, a chunk of the house out.
Yeah.
Like, that was awesome. That's not something I've ever seen done before. And it was fucking cool.
Another thing I will say for the characters is we find out that one of the teenagers, cannot remember his name, is actually his son.
Oh, yeah. That's Eric, played by Jonathan Jackson.
Are you sure it's Eric?
Hold on. I'm going to check. Nope. I'm a liar. I think it's, let me double check, but I believe his name is, it's Ricky. Yeah, is it Ricky? I feel like it's Ricky.
Okay, Ricky sounds right.
He's played by Powell Zjadja. I'm saying that very wrong, but Szajda. Zajja.
Maybe it's a soft J, like a huh?
So it's Zahda?
I don't know.
I don't know, but
anyway,
yes.
But that actor has a very good scene where, like, he's clearly coping with the death of his dad, and it's clear that Ray was kind of his estranged father. Yeah. And he, like, shows up at the gas station and has, like, a bit of a meltdown about how he doesn't want to turn into his dad, and, like, a lot of resentment around his dad. And it's actually a pretty, like, strong scene.
Yeah, it is really, really good. Like, they should have focused more on that as well, because it was a really nice relationship. And
then they unceremoniously kill off that character with no remorse from Ray, and you'd think that they would at least try to get that in.
Yeah.
They kill off the character, and then there's, like, this weird scene where, like, the granddaughter of the voodoo lady is there, and she's like, no, we can use him as like a voodoo doll to stop Ray. And there's like a lot of drama around like, I don't want to do this is disgusting, this is horrible. So like 2 of them leave the room and the other 2 are there like using the dead body as a voodoo doll, and then Ray rips the room away. And the voodoo doll thing works for maybe like 3 seconds.
Yeah.
And then it's not useful at all. So like that whole, like all of that build-up is super wasted.
It really is. It felt like a really odd moment in the film, because you felt like, you know, usually in a horror film, if you are presented with a solution, it either works or it doesn't. There's no sort of in-between. And I mean, good on them for trying something new, but also it was a spectacular failure because, again, it was just a non-event. Like,
yeah, they didn't do anything with it.
Exactly. And I mean, if you're so concerned with desecrating the body, why not just take the blood out of the dude and make a little doll?
You'd think.
Like, that's what I thought you were gonna do.
Same.
Like, what? Like, when they were just like, oh, we'll make a doll. And I was like, okay, that's cool. Like, just do a little doll. And then they just use his whole body. I was like, oh no.
I was like, oh, okay. We're not using craft supplies today.
But yeah, that character, the granddaughter, Cece, is played by Megan Good, who I've seen in other things, and she's actually really good in other things.
Yeah.
I was well impressed to see her in this film. I was a little disappointed with her performance in this film.
Especially because she plays the most useless character. Like, she's just there for exposition.
Like, it's so dumb.
And she's like, I kind of know magic. It's like, really? You don't know any fucking magical first aid or anything? Like, there's a character bleeding out in front of you, and you're just, like, crying, and it's like, you know, what's the point of you besides exposition?
Yeah, for
and the
real.
answer is none. There is no point.
No, exactly. And she could have been such a stronger player. I definitely feel like the film wasted its time on Eden being the protagonist. I do not care about her even a little bit. I mean, her biggest gripe in the story is the whole relationship she has with her boyfriend Eric, and the fact that, you know, she wants to go to New York now to go study medicine, and he doesn't want her to, so he can be closer to her. It's very much like High School Musical, but, you know, with less awesome dancing.
Like, I mean, her whole thing is just she thinks she's better than everyone. Like, that's literally it. And
it
she
been
survives.
Great if either Ray survived to kill his not Ray. Ricky had survived to kill his father,
Ricky.
Or if Cece had survived because she's like she's gonna now have to be the sorceress of Louisiana. That would have been badass.
Yeah. And if she'd, like, channeled her dead grandmother to, like, defeat it. Like, I feel like the big shame with this movie is it sets up so many, like, interesting things and then promptly ignores all of them in favor of just following, like, the really standard slasher tropes.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you.
And I don't know, maybe they were scared to take risks, and that's why this movie ends up being so unremarkable.
Because, I mean, the basic premise is amazing. I mean, there's so much folklore behind, like, Louisiana and the magic that comes out of the swamplands.
Yeah.
And such a cool setting that's full of scariness. Like, there is nothing scarier than a swamp. Well, there are, but they're
Absolutely.
It's still pretty scary. And, you know, you've got this rich backstory, and then you've also got a villain who can be so diabolical. Like, if his only purpose is to kill everything and anyone, just leave it at that, because that's amazing. Yeah. Instead of just killing 5 teens, and it's just, like, why is he so focused on them? He should go out, kill everyone, and, you know, the teens have to find a way to stop it. It would be awesome.
I was watching it with Rudy, and at the end of the movie, he was like, so are there, like, only 2 people left in the town? Because apparently... And that's really the only way it makes sense.
It had potential. I think that's what we can say about it. It's not that bad in the fact that it had such great potential, and I think if it got redone just with taking risks, it would be a great, great film.
Yeah. I get the sense that probably somebody wrote this script and it was, like, really close to their heart and stuff, and probably a production team got a hold of it, or a big studio got a hold of it, and they just ripped it to shreds, and they were like, we don't want this element, we don't want this element, the cute white girl should survive.
Yeah.
And, like, yeah, just gutted it, really.
Yeah, it is such a shame, and I think that's probably what happened. And I mean, what can you do? I mean, I loved reviewing this film this week, because quite a lot of the time my notes were just white people.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of issues in this film with white people just not believing in magic, and I'm not saying you have to believe in magic, but it's just the complete lack of sensitivity to someone else's faith and belief.
Yeah.
They're just like, your voodoo is bullshit, what are you doing?
Yeah, I think there's something wrong with you. You're not making any sense. And it's like, there's literally a dead man, like, walking around. Maybe it's time to start asking some hard questions.
Yeah, plus if you live in Louisiana and Cece is one of your good friends, I'm pretty sure you know this stuff.
That's the thing, also, is they go to her house, like, her grandma's just died. And they go to her house basically to interrogate her about what's happening, and then proceed to not believe her.
Yeah.
Like, they don't even bring her, like, flowers or, like, a casserole. Like, condolences, you just lost your grandmother. They're like, hey, tell us what's happening. And she's like, hi?
Yeah, she's still sobbing from her grandma.
Yeah. It's just awful. And then she, like, tells them what's happening, and they're like, you're crazy.
Like, why would you have friends like this? They're the worst people.
They're awful. It's clearly a very small town, though. Maybe she was like, once we all graduate, I can just, like, get on with my life.
But she never will, because
She got killed off real quick.
something that that really caught my attention was a fantastic interaction between Rachel and Eden right in the beginning. So as they close up the diner and Eden goes to get on her bike to leave, Rachel calls her scrub, which makes me believe that TLC's Ain't No Scrub became such a predominant part of Louisiana life that the term scrub was actually adopted into normal speech. And that makes me really happy, because let us all be fair, we don't want no scrubs. Scrubs are a kind of guy that gets no love from me, sitting on the passenger side of his best friend's ride, trying to holler at me.
Iconic.
And it is one of the best songs in the world, because it also provides us with a definition.
Yes.
Scrubs is the kind of guy who thinks he's fly, but is also known as a buster. Like, there is no song that gives you a good definition like that.
Other times you just have to infer. This is like, no, this is what it is. And you've all met this guy. And you're like, I have met this guy.
So I'm so glad that it made its way into what I would like to call popular culture. But I'm going to say a film instead.
So, what's your scene that could have saved it?
Right, so we've touched on this before in our words together now. But there was two things that I would have liked to have seen rather in this. I would have liked to have rather seen, like you said, the relationship between Ricky and his dad sort of materialize more, and them actually have words together.
Yeah.
And you know, get into a bit of a fight before Ray turned into
Absolutely.
the villain. But then I also would have really liked to see the concept of the film, him being this ultra demonic evil, just fucking slaying everyone, and the teens having to sort the problem out. I also would have liked to have seen a more creative death of Ray than just being run over by a car. I feel that's really lazy.
Yeah. And also, like, how sure are you that's gonna work? Like, he's an animated corpse.
So, yeah. He should not, be
Even
taken
if they
out.
realize, like, you have to kill all of, like, the snakes inside him, that shows slightly more creativity.
Yeah. It shouldn't have ended with the snakes coming out of his body and then that's it. What do you think? What scene could have saved it on your side?
I agree with you. Like I said, I just think that they could have made it 10 times more interesting by making Ray a slightly more sympathetic character, on top of him being a killing machine. Just sort of something with his relationship with Ricky. And then also, something that I found very interesting was when Ricky dies, he gets a big cut across his face.
Yes.
And he talks about how, like, to become his dad, like, to be the next town creep, he just needs a big scar on his face.
I didn't even make the symbolism. That's really
Yeah.
great.
And it's just
That's
like,
fantastic.
it's this really interesting thing, like, and I think it speaks to like a deeper theme of like some of us, like a lot of us are scared of becoming our parents in certain ways. And then they just completely disregard it and kill Ricky off. And I feel like if he'd survived or like showed up at like, you know, the final hour and like had a showdown with his dad, it would have been so good. I would have been so happy. And also if maybe like deep down Ray's like still in there somewhere and he's like hesitant about murdering his son, and you find out that like he really did love his son the whole time. He didn't want to be estranged.
He's a good guy, yeah.
I don't know, anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, you see, like, there's a glimpse of it when Ricky finds the photo of him as a kid inside the garage.
Yeah.
And, like, it's literally a split second and then it's over and you're like, oh, okay, that was a bit of a waste.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So, yeah, I agree with you. They could have gone deeper. There's a lot of concepts that could have been better done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Such a shame. It's such a missed opportunity, I'd say, in terms of this. Bit of trivia for you. The only bit of trivia on this one, before we move on. There is a video game of this film in production. Just let that sink in.
Is it called Venom?
I hope it is, but I'm not too sure.
I feel like that would be very confusing with the... I mean, the Venom release should be happening around the time this episode airs.
Comes out, I'm sure. So I don't understand how it would be called Venom. I mean, in some sort of edits and things, the evil character played by Ray is called Mr. Jingles, and they're thinking of that for the video game, because whenever his keys jingle, you know he's around.
Fuck off.
I know, it's all very sad.
I mean, sure, because you know, game adaptations of movies always work out like really well. So
super duper well. I mean, who doesn't remember? I can't even
all of the
say
brilliant Harry Potter games.
Oh man. To be fair, they're coming out with a Jumanji board game, and I will never play it for fear.
Yeah, has nobody learned?
Like, I feel like whatever company is doing that is just actually just trying to fuck with us at this stage.
No, I don't need to put that on myself.
No. Like, and one of my friends has said she'll buy it for me for my birthday. And
Please
I'm just like,
don't.
Why? Even.
I didn't know you
why
hated
put that
me.
curse upon me? Yeah. Alright, so let's move on to bad director or bad film. Get this guy under wraps.
Me.
So, Jim Gillespie, he hasn't done too much. He's done I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Classic.
Great film. Proper classic horror. Joyride and Billionaire Ransom. Both of those I have not heard of ever. Billionaire Ransom nor Joyride. So we'll have to go off of I Know What You Did Last Summer. And I think this is a bad film. I think it has nothing to do with him. Clearly, Jim Gillespie knows what he's doing, because I Know What You Did Last Summer is a classic horror film. I'm not saying it's a great horror film.
And the directing didn't seem bad watching it. Like, no. I think everybody was trying to work around an incredibly clunky script.
But yeah, I think he saved it. Ray is great in that film. You know, the shots are very interesting, especially around the dead, killing shots.
Yeah.
Because he does some really weird camera effects.
I saw that.
Which are different and interesting.
Yeah.
They're sort of hazy and cool. So yeah, I think I sort of ran a parallel to Duncan Jones, who was the director of Warcraft, in the fact that he did his best with what he could.
Yeah.
And that's what I would say about him.
Okay.
So not a bad director. You keep making movies, Jim. You do your thing.
Good job, Jim.
Good job, Jim.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, tell me about Red Riding Hood. I'm excited to... I can't believe this is the better of the two. I can't believe I'm actually excited to get into this film.
You know, it's a low bar. Okay, so Red Riding Hood comes to us at a time when Twilight was just winding down. So everybody was very into tragic, supernatural teen romance. And that's very clear with this movie. This movie takes place apparently in the 1300s. You can't tell by the outfits. It stars Amanda Seyfried playing Valerie, who they try to frame as a normal, beautiful, innocent character, and obviously with her giant eyes. that's what she looks like, but, like, it's implied that there's a darkness in her because she kills a bunny when she's a kid, even though, like, for 1300, like, for 12th century peasants, that would be pretty standard. No? 14th century peasants, sorry.
14th century,
Yes.
yeah. But it's not, like, she would know how to do that purely on the basis that it's food for them to eat that night.
So the movie starts off with her budding romance with Peter, played by Shiloh Fernandez. The two of them clearly are in love. The movie starts with them being in love, both as children and 10 years later. As they're busy discussing how they're going to run away, because Valerie has been promised to marry Henry, played by Max Irons, they find out that the werewolf that has plagued the town for many years but not killed anyone has suddenly killed someone new. Surprise, it's Valerie's sister.
Oh, no.
So, yes, their plans of running away are cut short. The men of the village go out to hunt down the werewolf. They go into some caves, they find a wolf. The wolf is killed at the expense of Henry's father also being killed. They come back, they're very chuffed with themselves. Then, Gary Oldman, playing Priest Solomon, shows up. He's like, that's not the wolf. What happens is, werewolves, when they're killed, they go back to their human forms, and what you've got there is a wolf head. And he knows this because he found out that his wife was a werewolf, and he killed her. Yeah.
Yep.
Nobody believes him, so they decide to have a big party that night anyway. In that time, Peter decides that Valerie would be much happier with Henry because he's richer. So he tells her, no, I don't want to be with you. And the party is basically like a weird...
It's like a
post-apocalyptic, ravey scene.
It's really uncomfortable to
where
watch.
Valerie tries to make him jealous with some faux lesbianism. It kind of works in that they start trying to, like, hook up in the barn. But then the wolf strikes and attacks and kills a bunch of people at the celebration. The town is suddenly thrown into a panic. There's suspicion everywhere. Valerie realizes that she can understand the wolf when it talks to her with its mind.
Oh my god.
Listen.
It's just, I know you're doing exactly what the film is doing, and that makes me sad because I know who you are and you're a really smart person. And this shouldn't...
Let's just get through it.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Close your eyes and think of England.
Yeah, so Valerie can understand the wolf when it talks to her with its mind. The wolf doesn't kill her, but it says that it wants her to run away with it, or else it'll kill everybody in the town. Inexplicably, she's like, no, screw you. The next day comes, the accusations start flying about who the werewolf is. Eventually it comes out that Valerie understands the wolf. She's accused of being a witch. And very understandably, the people of the village are like, okay, well, if we just put her outside, the wolf will show up and we can kill it. Everybody's very upset about this, particularly the two men that are in love with her and her dad. So they launch a plan to free her. This plan goes off pretty smoothly. A couple of people get killed by the wolf, but it's fine.
Yep.
Valerie eventually escapes into the woods with the help of Henry, who takes a crossbow bolt for her and gets no thanks. Yeah. In the forest, she runs into Peter, who we think at that point might be the wolf. She stabs him very shallowly because she thinks he's the wolf. She gets to her grandmother's house because she thinks her grandmother's the wolf. Surprise! No, it's her dad. Her dad's a werewolf. His dad was a werewolf. He wants to bite her and then run off with her into the city where, like, they can be safe and happy. And she's like, no. Peter shows up at the last minute, saves her, kills her dad. They have sex on her red cloak in the woods. And then it turns out that Peter was bitten by the wolf. So now he's going to become a werewolf. And the movie ends with Peter coming back once he's learned how to control his werewolfishness, Valerie moving into her grandmother's house because it's like a bit out of the village, and it turns out she had a baby by him. And it ends.
Oh, damn. That was a good wrap-up. I'm proud of you for getting through that. It's,
I feel so dirty somehow.
Yeah, it's... What do you say about a film like this? Really?
I feel like it was another teen romance that tried to use the vehicle of a werewolf hunt to make it interesting, and that maybe would have worked, but I think they tried too much in a very short time span because there was no character development. So ultimately, you really don't care about who Valerie ends up with because she's such like a blank slate of a character. Her love interest, Peter, like has the douchiest hair of all time.
Just is really, like, he's got a really sharp face to the point where you just know he's bad news. Like, he's not even a safe dangerous. He's just fucking
And then the guy who she doesn't want to
sleazy.
marry, he's like really nice about it. He's like, oh, totally, I get it. Like, let's not get married then. Sorry. And she's like still kind of mean to him, and he helps her so much. Like, he helps her all the time. I'm not saying she owes him anything, but I'm just saying he's clearly the better option here.
Yeah, for reals. He's so nice about it. He's just like so chill. He doesn't really care. He just wants her to be happy. And I mean, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
There's a line where Peter, like, after they've been like trying to make each other jealous by like dancing on other girls, she's like, why are you with her? You don't even like her. And he's like, well, I don't have to like her to get what I want from her. And you're like, oh my god. It's so gross.
That is fucked up. It's not okay
so
that he says that.
And you're just like, this is the guy? This is the guy?
This is why you want... And he says it to her, which makes it even worse. Oh, man. There's one line quite in the beginning which made me really uncomfortable. Oh, yeah. So it was the bit where the girls are speaking about the sister who dies. And they're like, she would rather die than live without her loving him. And one of the other teenage girls is like, that's so romantic.
Whoa.
I'm just like, whoa.
Problematic.
Okay. No. Oh, yeah, that is... Okay, so for our viewers who believe that love is about dying for the person that you love, look.
Listen, like...
It's not. The best way to describe just decent love is that you could live without the person you love, but you don't want to.
Yeah.
It's a pretty sound situation.
If you're so dependent on another person's affection that you'll die without it, it's maybe not, like, the healthiest thing. And you need to just, like, look inward.
Yeah, take a few steps back. Love yourself first. That's the most important thing. If you can't love yourself, how are you expected to love another person?
Are you quoting RuPaul?
And I mean... I don't know, but I hope I am, because
RuPaul.
they are such a good role model. I hope that's the right pronoun.
Like, RuPaul goes by she.
Is it she?
If you're quoting her, like, while she's in drag.
Is that the right pronoun?
I don't.
Okay.
I stand to be corrected.
We're trying to learn. Well, at least we're trying. We're not just gonna be like dicks about this and be like, well, it's a he, so, that's what God gave her. The Christian God, not one of these smelly other gods. We're trying. So, she, what, if we could all emulate her, then it's a win. But what I do want to quote at this stage, since, the director of this, Catherine Hardwicke, also did the Twilight films.
Just the first one.
Oh, yes. Just the first one. Okay, I did not know that. But yeah, since we're talking about this and dying for someone you love, there's a great quote from my favourite writer who did the show Community, Dan Harmon. And this is a quote from Jeffrey Winger when he says to Shirley, well, Shirley, since you've clearly failed to grasp the central insipid metaphor of those Twilight books you devour, let me explain it to you. Men are monsters who crave young flesh. The end. And it is true. And this movie says it more than most as well.
There are some very nice men out there. But just, like, maybe don't want to die for them.
Yeah, and if they expect you to do that, and also if there is an age gap of, like, 20 years...
We don't want to tell you how to live your life, but, like...
Yeah. Mm. And if it's your dad as well...
What?
Well, think about it. It's the dad in this one.
Oh, I see. Okay, sorry.
You see where I'm going with that? Like, if your dad wants you to run away with him, don't do it.
But here's the thing. Like, so, like... No, I'm just saying, like, what part of what made it so uninteresting is, like, they just say, they're like, oh, there's a darkness in her, and then they don't show it at all in the film. Like, mainly she's just, like, a normal teenage girl. And what would have made it slightly interesting is if she'd been even a little tempted to take up her dad on his offer of, like, becoming a werewolf, running off, fucking shit up in the city. Like, that would have been interesting. Instead, she's very, like, on her moral compass, and she's like, no, it's wrong. And there's this amazing, terrible line where she's like, there must be a god because you're the devil. And he goes, well, you're the devil's daughter.
It's like, I love it when it's trying to be edgy. I love reading people's work and seeing people's work when it's trying to be edgy, and you have to just sit there, and it's like flat Coke.
Yeah.
It tastes the same, but you know there's something missing.
Yeah.
So, positives about this film.
It was quite stylized, I thought. You know, they really had a vision with what they wanted to do. I think it would have been better as not PG-13. I know that 13 was their audience, but there literally just wasn't enough violence to, like, make it interesting.
Yeah.
And, you know, maybe if there had been, like, a sex scene at some point during it, it would have been more, I don't know. Like, I don't want to rely on, like, cheap things like blood and sex to, like, make it interesting. But this movie really does just play so flat. Because, again, I think it introduces so many different things, and they just play it safe with so much that it ends up being unremarkable.
Exactly. I think that's the problem with both of our movies this week. It's playing too safe. It's such a nice concept. I mean, you're finally sort of going into the realm of the original Brothers Grimm level of fairy tales, where it's really gritty and dirty and things get really messy very quickly. And then you don't do anything with it. You want to be gritty, but then you just decide not to. And that's where I agree with you. I think, you know, Logan was such a good film because they took X-Men and how gritty it was and then turned it on its head and made it even grittier. And only because it was, you know, R-rated, which made the difference. So yes, I agree with you. But, I mean, as much as I dislike her, Amanda Seyfried is actually not too bad in this film.
She does fine.
She's pretty good, and I mean, you know, it's always nice to see Gary Oldman in something.
He's a joy.
And he's what makes this world a better place. Does Gary
Have you
Oldman.
seen him in The Darkest Hour yet?
I have not. I will watch that.
You'll cry. It's so good.
I'm excited to see that. Yeah, I mean, what else could one say? That's what I wanted to say. I made a really good note about this, and I want you to agree with me, but if you don't, I'm okay with it. Christian Bale is just a young Gary Oldman.
I don't know if I agree with you.
And this is the end of the podcast forever now. So thank you for listening.
We're
no longer friends.
I like Christian Bale. I think he just relies way too much on, like, method acting and, like, doing weird shit to get into character rather than, like, focusing on the craft like Gary Oldman does.
Yeah, that's true. You have a good point there.
Here's, like, I will never compare anyone to Gary Oldman because he's perfect. That's the end of my sentence.
That's great. Yeah, he is. He's such a versatile
And sometimes
actor.
he does show up in movies that aren't that great. Like this movie. I watched The Hitman's Bodyguard last night. It was fine. Yeah, but Gary Oldman's in it, and he's wonderful.
Oh, that's nice. Is he the villain in that?
Yeah, of course. But here's the thing, like, Gary Oldman always knows who he needs to be in a movie. In Red Riding Hood, he knew that he needed to be, like, the kind of over-the-top evangelical priest character. And that's fine. He just did it.
Yeah. And he was perfect at that role, as he is with everything that he does. What I liked about this film was there was, like, a really nice callback to the whole Scarlet Letter thing. You know, which is such a great book because it sort of reveals the ridiculousness of you know, superiority and you know, attacking people for who they are and misconceptions. And it was really nice with the sort of the parallels between, like, the Red Hood and, you know, the Scarlet Letter, etc., and the fact that she wasn't a villain, but she's painted as a villain, but no one really believes it, and it doesn't really actually matter because she's still a good person. And, I mean, at the end of the day, all she's doing is trying to save the village. Well, no, she's not, actually. To be fair, she's just like, nah, fuck the village, I just don't want to go with you.
Yeah, that I was about to say, like, is she?
Yeah, no, she's a bad person. Okay, fair enough.
Like, she just doesn't give a shit about anyone in the village. Except Peter, who's, like, the worst. It's so hard to understand the romance between the two of them. Yeah. Because all he does is, like, look broody all the time. And she's like, oh my god, I just want to be with you.
To be fair, that's how we feel about Jason Momoa. Like, we know it wouldn't be good for us.
But he's not even interesting. He's just broody. Like, you know, sometimes you meet people and you're like, oh my god, he's so mysterious. And then you realize, no, he's just quiet. And then, like, if you actually get to know them, you're like, oh my god, you're actually such an idiot.
You're actually
yeah,
really
and you're
boring.
so boring.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We've all had that relationship. And maybe that's what this movie is about. Maybe this is actually just her coming to terms with the fact that she made a mistake.
Yeah.
And she chose the wrong
Yeah, because
dude.
Henry's awesome. He's a blacksmith, so you know
Henry's
he's, like,
legit.
super buff under there. Not that it should matter. But he's really nice to her. He, like, gives her presents that he makes for her. He, he looks out for her. I'm just saying, that's more than what Peter does.
Peter made her kill a rabbit when she was 13.
But again, like, this is such a non-point.
But she's got a darkness within her.
No, she was hungry.
How could you? Oh, man. Oh, there's so many things with that film.
So, yeah, what's,
Right, so tell me your scene that would have saved it. I'm excited to hear.
any scene that would have involved character development in the love triangle. Anything at all. Just anything that would have given these three people more of a personality. Because it's so hard to care about the romance. You're more like, genuinely like, oh, I wonder who the beast is, until like you very easily figure out it's her dad.
Yeah. There's quite a few shots when they're talking about the werewolf, and then it just shows the dad, and then it'll go back to talking about the werewolf, and it show the dad
But he's
again,
a
and you're
drunk,
like,
Chad. How can he be a werewolf?
Werewolves are perfect and lovely. Have you not seen Team... I want to say Joseph. That's wrong, isn't it?
I don't know what you're talking about.
It's Team Edward
and
Team-
man, what's it?
and Team David.
Oh, I should know. It's
Team
Team
Craig.
Yeah, Team Edward. I cannot remember for the life of me. He plays a werewolf. Oh my god, hang on. Just give me a minute.
Team Larry.
Team Larry. Jacob.
There you go. I was close with Team Larry.
Were you?
You know, Team Edward proves that werewolves can't be drunks. They're just perfectly gorgeous, dumb idiots.
True.
Were you Team Edward or were you Team Jacob?
I think probably when I was like 13, I was obviously Team Edward, and now looking back, I'm like, Jacob was like an actual friend to her. And you should always just marry your best friend.
You should always just marry your best friend, because they're the ones who you get along with when you're in, you know, your slacks and you're eating pizza.
And the broody guy is only interesting and sexy for so long as until you start talking to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And if the only thing they can really say is "I would die for you," I mean, that's gonna wear pretty quickly.
Yeah, I totally need you to rescue me, dude.
Yeah, I think that's the problem with these films. Is it relies on the need for the damsel in distress.
And I don't have time for it. Like,
no, you really don't. I mean, you don't need Rudy to do anything for you. You just like that he does.
yes. And it's fine to let people do nice things for you. But also, like, I know how to change my own car tires. Because Rudy taught me.
Yeah, exactly.
But I could do it.
That's the point. You don't need him there to do it for you.
Yeah. And there's a lot of stuff
That's
that we help each other with. So.
Yeah, I agree. My scene that could have saved this was probably, what did I say? I think seeing Gary Oldman not be such a dick. I know he played that role because the film required it of him. But, you know, his wife's been eaten, but was a werewolf. Like, I would have loved to see him sort of dealing with that internally and like the anger and things, instead of just being like, oh, I believe this one's the werewolf, let's put him in the elephant, or, you know, oh, she's a witch. Like, you know, just be cool, help these people.
I would have actually liked to see that scene where he like realizes his wife is the wolf, like as a prologue or something.
Yeah, that would have been really cool. That would have been amazing. And then I would have also liked to see the dad have a bigger part than just a few shots of him being a drunk asshole.
Yeah, because they just bring him in at the end and you're like, who the fuck is this guy again?
Yeah, because you hardly remember that he's the dad. Like, I would have liked to see either the dad being, like, super duper nice, so that you kind of side with the dad, or, you know, him just being there and being around and sort of creepy, but sort of fun, instead of just a drunk who's in, like, 2 scenes.
Yeah.
So, yes, let's move on. Tell me, bad director or bad film?
So, as you mentioned, the director is Catherine Hardwicke, and previously she did direct the first Twilight movie, but she's also directed a bunch of other pretty decent movies, like 13,
Oh.
Lords of Dogtown, and more recently, Till It Happens to You, which is a video short. It was, I believe, a Lady Gaga music video, but it was about rape on college campuses.
Oh wow, okay.
And it was pretty good. It was really touching and like dealing with difficult issues.
Right.
So I don't think she's a bad director at all. I think
No.
like she was having to work with the weird demand for teen romance movies that there was at the time. I think she was having to work with a very tricky script.
Yeah.
But, like, the actors clearly knew what they were doing and where they were supposed to be. The acting was pretty good. The scenes were shot as beautifully as they could be.
Yeah, for reals.
And visually, it was actually a really interesting movie. So, I think it's just a bad film, not a bad director. Good.
Yeah.
You go, Catherine Hardwicke.
Yeah, I mean, we don't see enough female directors as it is. But the fact that she directed 13, that is such a powerful film.
And Lords of Dogtown was, like, real good.
Well, I'm going to fight you about that. I'm glad you brought it up.
Oh, really? You didn't like Lords of Dogtown?
Oh,
Is that your movie?
We're gonna talk about this in about 5 minutes.
Okay, cool.
13 is so good and so powerful, and yeah, just nice. Well done. You go.
Yeah.
You go, Catherine.
Yeah.
Keep being power. Well done. Yeah, I feel good now. Like, I feel really empowered by her.
Yeah.
Like...
Yeah, I'm always happy to see a female director who's doing well.
Yeah. Keep making movies.
Yeah.
You go.
Or for you, Catherine Hardwicke.
Teach Jim Gillespie how to make a movie. What? Right, so I guess we should get into it then. Lords of Dogtown is my movie, as you have prematurely revealed.
This is for new first-time listeners. The segment is called It's Not That Good.
All right, yeah.
Where we take a break from being optimistic and we shit on movies that have generally received quite a good reception.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously these are just our opinions and, you know, we have no authority whatsoever. We kind of just enjoy watching movies and have things to say about them. So don't take our opinions too seriously. If you did enjoy them, these films, well, that's your call. This is just what we have to say, and I mean, obviously you kind of care about what we say, because you wouldn't have made it to episode 11 if you had.
Sure.
So, Lords of Dogtown is my film that's not that good. I mean, let me just ask you this, what do you remember from this film?
I did watch it a very long time ago, so... It's the skateboarding.
Exactly.
It's,
That is it. It's a skateboarding film. It's a slightly edgy skateboarding film. Everyone's like, it's the best skateboarding film, which isn't saying much. Though. Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, yes, it's sort of a history project of the first skateboards from the guys who made them. But is it a good film, or is it just an average film set up to a higher bar because the only other skateboarding films that you have are things like, I think it's called Off the Hook. I can't even fucking remember. No. It's the one where Bam Margera is in it for like 5 seconds, and...
I mean, listen, I don't know.
Yeah, so my take on this is people say it's a good film because it's shot really well, and I will give it that. It is shot beautifully. There's
And Heath Ledger.
Okay.
You're like, I mean, that doesn't make it good.
Like, you know, like we just said, Gary Oldman is a perfect actor, but true. He's in this film. You know, there's some really good shots, but there's some really good shots in a lot of bad movies, and that doesn't make them good necessarily. And I just think this film is overhyped for what it is. It's not something that you would put in the annals of history. It's not something that you would hang a poster of in your room. And yet it gets this sort of weird appraisal as being an amazing film. But all you remember about it is that there is skating involved.
And Heath Ledger.
Well, I didn't even remember there was Heath Ledger. That's the point. So yes, it's not that good. Lords of Dogtown.
Fine, I haven't watched it recently enough to really be able to contest it.
What I'll do, because, you know, I'll watch it again, just because I'm willing to concede, as I have before. If it is a good film, I'll come back next week and I'll say, okay, mea culpa, I made a mistake. But as it stands of right now, it is a bad film. Okay, tell me your film. I'm excited. Am I going to fight you this week? Am I going to smash a glass?
Probably not. And I just remembered this film because it is one of it's one of those films that just makes me rage every time I hear about it. And that film is World War Z. Here's why. Because I read the book.
Okay.
And the book is fucking phenomenal.
It is a really good book.
The book, yeah, it's a series of interviews that this guy supposedly working for the UN does with people who were at critical places during the uprising, middle, and end of the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. He thinks about economic implications. He thinks about political implications. He looks on an international scale. It's so well thought out and, like, beautifully written. And then you watch the movie, and it's nothing like that.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with that. Even the zombies are wrong. They're not supposed to be able to run. So it's literally just World War Z in name only compared to the book. It's really upsetting to watch as someone who loved the book. And they could have just done so much better with it. It could have been like a documentary style movie.
Yeah.
It could have been done as a series. Like, I sincerely hope that they redo whatever they were going to do with World War Z. Because, like, all they did was they got Brad Pitt on board and then wrote an entirely new script. Also, I watched it with our friend Dan, who's a microbiologist.
That's always a mistake.
And he had some words that I'm not going to shit on a movie for not understanding how virology works.
Yeah, you can't really do that, but I do agree with you there. I will give you a fair point there. I mean, the book is one of the most phenomenal zombie books I've ever read.
But, like, he goes through how it spreads through, like, illegal organ trade, and it's just so good.
It is, and then the film is bad because it literally is just Brad Pitt just fucking around for an hour and a half. And then there's a Pepsi ad right at the end. What is that about?
Yeah. So what I want, my dream is for Netflix to pick it up and make, like, a series out of it, a documentary style one, so each interview would maybe be its own episode, or, like, 2 interviews per episode or something.
Yeah.
And, like, really just get into it and give this author the recognition that he deserves for thinking through this whole movie so well.
Yeah, he does an amazing job. It is a really good book, and if you haven't read it yet, Max Brooks' World War Z, fantastic.
Just cannot recommend it enough.
And if you haven't seen the film, watch it first. I profess that watching that film first and then reading the book will give you a greater appreciation for the book. If you read the book first and then watch the film, you'll be as angry as Simone is.
I'm so angry. Like, I watched that film years ago, and I still get, like, my blood pressure goes up when I think about it. I'm so angry.
It isn't a good film. In comparison to the book, it isn't a good film. It makes no sense in comparison.
Yeah. And it did quite well. Like, people really enjoyed the film.
Yeah, it did very, very well.
And I'm just like, you fools.
Pick up a book sometime. Gosh.
God.
And look at that. We've gone through it all. So how have you been?
We did it again.
We've done it again.
I'm good. I've been good. I was telling you before we started recording that this has just been a week of injuries for me. I fucked up my shin doing some box jumps. It's nothing bad, just bruising and scratching. I burnt myself on the oven making pizza.
Look, at least you were injured for something good.
I think so. Oh, but I also made my first baked cheesecake ever this week, and it turned out real well.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'll actually send you the recipe, because the one I got was, like, a pretty solid one.
Okay, that's awesome. What a winner. Oh, good week. Good week.
Yeah, nice week. And how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I've had a pretty busy week, just packing boxes, getting ready for the move. Yeah, it's been going pretty well. I've started listening to a new podcast on your recommendation, which I think our listeners should also listen to, which is called Her Money Matters. As the title suggests, it's financial advice for women. But, you know, there's some really good financial advice there for men too. For everyone. Just hit it up. It's amazing.
Yeah. If you're a person trying to figure out how money works, like me.
Like both of us.
And, like, trying to, like, not be broke and screwed over by the age of 50. Like, it's just really cute. Everybody's really nice. Everybody's really encouraging. It's, like, such a positive little community. Yeah. It's nice.
Yeah, it is really lovely. So go check that out. And then I've also started listening to the No Sleep podcast, which is a Canadian horror story podcast.
Is it based off the Reddit No
Sleep? I believe it is. I believe it is.
There are such good stories on No Sleep.
I know. So I've just started an episode today, actually.
Okay.
So I'll keep everyone keyed up on how that goes. Yeah, that's pretty much all that's going on in my life. I mean, I'm just packing things away and getting ready for the move, getting ready for the new start. It's exciting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So hooray! We fucking did it somehow. Yet again, 11 episodes deep now.
More.
We'll keep going as long as people like it. Right. So Simone, what are you? What is your plan for next week? What are you doing? What do the people got to watch on your behest?
Okay, so for our more sensitive viewers who maybe don't like straight up horror or straight up slasher, I'm going to be watching Jennifer's Body,
Oh, yeah.
which I would consider a horror comedy.
Oh god, that movie! I haven't watched that in so long.
I think it's good fun, and I'm excited to be doing it for next week because I genuinely don't think it's that bad.
It's a really interesting movie, and hey, that's Amanda Seyfried as well.
Yeah, so I'm just on a kick.
Yeah, that's great. And then next week I will be doing Annabelle 2014. It's the first one, so don't watch Annabelle Creation. It is a really good film, and that's why we're not touching it. Annabelle has its problems, which we will get into.
I would also like to tell our listeners that you and I watched Annabelle together for the first time.
Yes, we did.
We watched it. We had a horror movie evening. Over the course of this evening, we finished a whole bottle of tequila between us.
Oh, man.
And we had watched another movie beforehand, so we were deep into the tequila by then. So I don't actually remember a lot of this movie. I just remember us watching it and being like, this is a little racist.
Yeah, there is some heavy race problems. So we're going to have some fun. Enjoy that next week. And yeah, good luck with your homework. And yeah, where can the people find you, Simone?
So they can follow me on Instagram. It's simone.le.roux, which is my name. And they can read my articles on fortuneFlint.com, which is our parent website. And then hopefully by then we will have a bunch of social media stuff up for this website. So follow us on there. Tell us what you think. Leave your comments. Tell us which movies we should watch. Tell us which movies you guys don't like. And
yeah.
Yeah.
It's all really helpful, so thank you guys for continuing to listen. Tell your parents, tell your mums, tell your dads, tell your estranged brothers and sisters, tell your kids.
tell your estranged father who has died and is inexplicably black from the dead.
Part of me thought you said black from the dead, and that made me really happy.
I think I did mispronounce it, so
that makes me really happy.
I'm so nervous somebody's gonna make a movie called Black from the Dead.
I was just about to suggest that we go and write that movie. It's just a really awful spoof comedy.
It's fun.
Called Black from the Dead.
He's the guy who does all the Medea. I really want Tyler Perry to watch to write a movie called Black from the Dead.
Madeira 16, Black from the Dead. Oh man, yeah. You can find me on Twitter at Chatsby1993. You can find me on was that Twitter? No, that's incorrect. You can find me on Twitter at Chatsby1993 or at Chad09506816. Good luck with that. You can also find me on Instagram at Chatsby1993, and you can also find me at our parent website, forgeandflint.com. That's just normally spelled FORGEANDFLINT.com to get that out there. Yeah, we'll link to everything in the below. We'll also remind you of our films in below. But yeah, thank you so much for listening. And as we say every episode, we love you, and there's nothing you can do about it.
We love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.